So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phill Kimpton, and this talk is titled Soldier to Cyber, which is about my experience of leaving the army and making a start as a pen tester without any previous experience whatsoever. I originally gave this talk last year to servicemen and women looking to leave the armed forces, but when the opportunity came to present at B-Sides today, I realised that I could tailor it slightly so it was applicable to everyone. So over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to be talking about things such as free training resources that are available, developing yourself a plan, support groups and communities. However, I didn't just get to where I am today through these things alone. So I'm going to be talking about things such as creating an opportunity for yourself and how opportunity doesn't just come knocking at your door and you have to go and find it. I'm going to be talking about failure and why we should not be scared of it. And more importantly, I'm going to be talking about the damaging impact of negative thoughts and how they can hinder your success. So whilst this talk is geared towards newcomers looking to make a start in the industry, I believe that there's something for everyone to take home today. What I'd all like you to take home, however, most importantly, is almost anything can be achieved with just three things, and that's determination, persistence, and passion. So my Twitter bio will tell you that I'm a skydiver, a pen tester, and a closet nerd, and all them things are true. But there is a bit more to me than that, you see, and that's the reason I'm stood here today. Three of those things are: I absolutely love my job. I love how versatile it is. I love how you keep on learning. And 2 weeks ago, I was getting paid to legally break into buildings, which I just think is great. I also am passionate about development. And that's not just my own development, but watching other people grow too. And then finally, I do get a kick, I'll admit, out of helping people. So I'm here to share my experiences with you all today, hoping that you can learn from them and hopefully not make the same mistakes that I did. I started as a pen tester in September 2016, and as I've already touched on, I had no previous experience whatsoever. Since then, I've gained experience in external infrastructure testing, web app testing, social engineering, phishing engagements, and I've also just recently started on internal testing. However, I'd like to stress that I am not a subject matter expert on any one of these disciplines by any means necessary. But the reason I share this with you is because, again, 2 years ago, I had no experience, and it is literally a case of, if I can do it, then any of you can too. So how exactly did I get into pen testing? Well, it was actually a bit of a mistake, sort of accident. Once I left the army in January 2015, I actually started working in the offshore oil and gas industry as a radio operator. And I'll admit, I was attracted by two things. And that was the 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off rotation. I'd work 3 weeks on, and then I'd go home and have 3 weeks completely off, but get paid for it. So I was working 6 months a year. And then the next one was the salary. And that was the big mistake. I based my career choice on financial gain and not actually what truly motivated me. The job itself, the company I worked for were great. The people I worked with were fantastic, and some of whom I still keep in touch with to this day. But it was the job itself that didn't motivate me. It didn't challenge me. And most importantly, I didn't feel that I had a purpose. After 3 months of this job, I started to get bored, but I ignored it. After 6 months, I started to change in personality, started to lose motivation. But again, I ignored that, because who is supposed to really enjoy the job anyway? I don't know that many people who do. So, I kept paying the bills, paying my way, and I ignored. And unfortunately, this all came crashing down after about 12 months when I was diagnosed with depression. And I can assure you now that I'm not the person who stood in front of you today. And, you know, it was really, if that's what it did to me in 1 year, I couldn't go on for the rest of it. I had 30 years of my working life left, and there was no helling chance that I was going to carry on that way. So I had to have a think about what I wanted to do with my life. And I got thinking back to when I was a child. When we're children, we don't base our career choices on how much we get paid. It's a lot more simple. They're built on what we love and what we dream about. And I believe that children think big because they've not yet experienced the suppressing power of negative thoughts. I'll admit I didn't follow what I wanted. I didn't chase what I wanted. My childhood dreams, my childhood career. I wanted to be a Ghostbuster. But, okay, whilst that may be totally unrealistic, I can show you now that if the world started to get taken over by ghosts in 2 years' time, I'll be giving a talk on how to become a Ghostbuster instead. So going back to negative thoughts, here's what I believe from my experience, the impact that they have. And that is, it's highly likely that negative thoughts are the primary factor in preventing us from being the person that we want to become. I'm often contacted by people looking to make a start in a career, some of whom have a lot of experience in IT. For example, network administrators, malware analysts, SOC analysts. And all these people have a wealth of experience and something to bring to the party, and they still manage to doubt themselves. And they absolutely have something to offer. But then again, if you're here today and like myself, you have no prior experience, but you're passionate about it, then I encourage you to follow your passion. I'd much rather be stood side by side working with people who are passionate than people who just aren't that bothered. And that's in any job. With negative thoughts, I experienced just then when the opportunity came to present at B-Sides today. When I first saw the advertisement on Twitter, I thought about it for 5 minutes and then I put it off. My talk won't get submitted anyway. Excuse me. I'm about to start uni. You know, it doesn't matter. I won't have enough time. So I put off the talk and I didn't submit it. But I did submit it on the 29th of September 2017. I remember that day so well because it was the day of my wedding. And I've not yet admitted to my wife that my premarital preparation included submitting a talk for B-Sides. No doubt she's now going to find out. But I found it interesting that I put it off and I doubted myself. However, the day where you're feeling positive and just absolutely great, I didn't think about it and I submitted the talk and committed to it. And cutting all the excuses away, if I'm totally honest with myself, what I was scared of was failure. And I've failed more times than I can remember. In my army career, the picture just here, I failed my first attempt of the parachute selection course. And on the second time round, I went in and I passed it. I was no fitter. I just approached it with a different mentality. And that was just to grit my teeth and keep going until I passed or passed out, unconscious. So yeah, I just managed to grin and bear it and made it. My first attempt at OSCP last year, I failed. I listened to everyone else. Most people don't pass first time, just go and see how it is. And I approached it again with a defeatist attitude. And needless to say, I failed. But 2 or 3 days later, I resubmitted my exam date. And I think it was a month, 6 weeks. And I approached it with a better attitude, and that was to pass. And I passed. So it is about approaching things with a right attitude. Because this is truly what I believe failure is. And what I've found out in the last few months, really. To fail is the first attempt in learning. And you do sometimes have to fail to succeed. And you must embrace the lessons that failure has to teach you. And this is a point on this slide now is what on the next slide is what Thomas Edison, the American inventor who created the light bulb, had to say. I've not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work. And whilst we're on the talk of failure, I was reading a book recently as well. I was creating this presentation. And 2 points really struck me. And the book's titled Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Here's what Napoleon Hill had to say. If you think you're beaten, you are. And if you dare not, you don't. So if you dare not do something for 1 year because of the fear of failure, then that's a shame. However, if you dare not do something for 5 years, then that's a tragedy. So how do we start to succeed? I've managed to narrow it down to 2 major points. Number 1, get rid of your excuse or your blame list. And I'm guilty of this, and it's only, I'd say in the past 6 months have I understood the importance of getting rid of your blame list and having the maturity to look within yourself and accept responsibility. Some of these excuses are, in fact, I've probably used all of them many a times, more times than I can remember. But the top 2 are one of my favourites, and I hear a lot from people. Number 1, I don't have time. I often hear this one from people. They say they don't have time, yet they have time to thumb their way through Facebook all day. Or they have time to watch the latest box sets back to back. Or watch the soaps. So I'm not going to put on you how to spend your time. That's completely down to you. It's again just about having that self-assessment and realising, do you procrastinate? Could you spend your time somewhere better to work on your own personal development, and just be honest with yourself? The next one, I can't afford it, is another difficult one. I'm not here to preach anyone how to deal with their finances. But again, I can't afford it is an excuse often used by people who manage to go out every weekend on a lash. Or they have the latest iPhone or the nicest car, and yet they claim they can't afford to work on their personal development. So I'm not preaching to you guys, but again, just have a think about what it is, and if you can make any improvements or corrections in your ways. Because when you lose your excuses, that's when you'll start to find your results. Now, the next one is surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And it's no coincidence that successful businessmen and women surround themselves with other successful businessmen and women. And the reason is because they all feed off one another's creativity and ideas. And because of it, they become even more successful. Or athletes. Us mere mortals don't understand the training regime or the diet regime that they have to go through, and they all support one another. And I call these your mastermind groups. And amazing things happen when people with a common interest or passion come together, which I'm sure you can all relate to. Unfortunately for us, we've got it in abundance in the hacking community. We've got, for example, Manchester Grey Hats, who do a meetup out once every month, and they have a Slack channel. I'm a member of the Slack channel. I've not met up yet, but I do intend to. So you've got these local groups that you can all meet up with and have these meetups with. So please try and involve yourself with people. Immerse yourself with like-minded people. You've also got friends, and I'm talking the close friends here, whose opinion and guidance you truly value. The ones who may not necessarily say the thing that you want to hear, and maybe the harsh truth. And if you have the maturity to accept what they're saying and realise that what they're saying is impartial and it's because they care about you, then you'll have a lot to learn from them. And again, that's sort of getting rid of the old blame list. And you've also got mentors. Some of you may have university lecturers. You may have people, colleagues at work whose ethics you value and you aspire to be. Mentors can come in all shapes and sizes. And one of mine a couple of years ago appeared to me in the form of my local postman. And Andy and I, we still keep in touch now. We go for a run every now and again. I think we're going for a run this weekend as well. But when he first came to the door delivering a parcel, we were pleasant to one another. And then within the next 4 weeks, he somehow managed to socially engineer his way into my house, so we would have drinking brews together and putting the world to rights. But could you imagine what I'd have missed out, the opportunity, if I just saw him as a postman and just left it at that? And this guy has a wealth of knowledge and experience, and some interesting things to say and share. I have learned and still continue to learn a lot from him. So just listen to what people have to say, people who you may not necessarily know. Just open your mind up to sort of different perceptions. However, you can have all the positive thinking in the world, and you can get rid of your blame list, and you will still not get anywhere. What you need to do as well is you need to start developing your plan, which is why I suppose you're here today. So this slide, if I can explain it, excuse me, it's not just a pretty slide I've made out to fill out the presentation. I actually stick to this plan. I have short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals, 0 to 2 years, 2 to 5, and 5 years plus. And I break them goals down with this. First of all, at the top, where you are now. Now, relating it back to where I was in the offshore oil and gas industry. Life was pretty rubbish, and I didn't want to be there. And then you sort of have to figure out where you want to be. And at this point, I didn't know. So I had to have a think. What did I enjoy doing? Well, I'm showing my age now because when I was between 8 to 10, I was playing on the Amiga 500. Yeah. And I was doing a little... Yeah. I'm gutted I got rid of it, actually. But, I was doing a little programming, playing some games. And then, naturally, between the ages of 14 to 16, as many teenage boys do, they play a lot of Counter-Strike. However, after the age of 16, apart from some sort of typical end-user interaction, Microsoft Office, for example, or browsing the internet, or Napster, I lost touch with IT. That was until this time when I needed to figure out what I wanted to do. I was at my friend Ash's house, and whilst he had his MacBook open, he had a window open which was running Windows 7. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? What is this magic? And I didn't know what virtualization was. And that was only December 2015. So he tried to explain. And I went home, intrigued, went onto YouTube to find out what virtualization was. And that's when I fell down the rabbit hole of YouTube. And I came out some 3 months later having an idea about pen testing and something called Kali Linux, and it looked cool. So, and that's when the penny dropped. And that initial sort of bit of fascination about what a virtual machine was turned into sort of a determined idea that I wanted to become a pen tester. So I knew where I was now, and I also now knew where I wanted to be. And once you've got that, you're able to set your goals. So for me, it was pretty easy. I had no experience, and I had to start from the complete beginning. Has anyone here heard of Cybrary at IT? Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? Yeah. So for those of you who haven't, Cybrary.it is a learning resource on the internet which is completely free of charge. So you can check out most of the major certificates and you can learn for free. In fact, the only thing it does cost you is a little bit of your time. But if you can sacrifice a bit of EastEnders for a bit of education, that's not all that bad. And next you've got YouTube. Now with Cybrary, here's just a quick screenshot. It was 4 weeks ago, so I apologise if it's changed the layout since. But you can see here what I've highlighted. And these aren't all the courses. But I started off with CompTIA A+, and that's where I was. I had to learn about hardware configuration, pulling laptops and desktops to pieces, learning about virtualization, networking basics, security basics, etc. I then moved on to Network Plus, watched a few of the videos, Security Plus, and I was in a bit of a rush to start getting on with Kali Linux, so I learned a bit of the CompTIA Linux Plus, and that's how I started. But it's all completely free. YouTube's got a wealth of resources, and one channel that I really recommend is a guy called Dale, and that's his Twitter handle, or it's the same name for his YouTube channel. So this guy starts from the bottom, and he works at all levels. So if you are, even myself now as a pen tester, I'll still check out his videos, and I'm amazed by what he has to share. But if you want to start off from the beginning, he breaks it all down for you. So you start to educate yourself, and it's now time to start putting your hacking skills to practice. I've blogged about this, so that's at the top if you forget these three, but I've wrote a bit more information about it. And again, I didn't know how to make a website. Granted, it's a WordPress one, but again, I just YouTubed it. So I had to learn how to create my own website, so I had no clue before that. And you can teach yourself these things. We've got Vulnhub on the left, which is it hosts a bunch of virtual machines which you can download of varying difficulty, easy, medium or hard. And they're created vulnerable, so you can hack them. You've got Pen Tester Lab, which is web app testing. And then you've got HackTheBox, which is a bit more like an infrastructure sort of thing. And what I wish I knew was, again, before I did my OSCP exam, I wish I knew about these three resources. Because after passing the exam, and once I started going on to these, I realised that a lot of these exercises are quite similar to OSCP. The OSCP exercises, not the exam. So if you before committing, or if you want to go down that route of OSCP, these are all perfect ways to get into it for completely free and get that sort of level of training and get your skills up. Now, they are free. But Pen Tester Lab and HackTheBox do have subscribed services as well. You can subscribe to them. Pen Tester Lab's £15 a month if you'd like to work on your web app testing. Great, absolute fantastic for me. I had no clue web app testing. Some may say I still don't. That's I'm not too sure. But yeah, it starts completely from the ground and works up. And that's £15 and HackTheBox is £10. So I subscribe to these, £25 a month, and is that subscription worth it? Absolutely. You know, it's less than a round when you're out with your mates. So that's how I sort of compare things. Now, one mistake I did make, and again probably showing my age, when I started taking notes, I was taking them on a notepad and pen, on a notepad with a pen. And needless to say, now them notes that when I first started learning, I don't have them. I can't recall on them. So, really important to use a note taker. And it doesn't matter what one you use, so long as you get yourself into the good practice of taking your notes and writing everything down. Because I assure you that even if you do start off at the very bottom, you'll call upon your notes again for something. Now, the next slide, the importances of networking. And this could actually be a presentation on itself. I've managed to fit it into a 1-minute slide. But I can't emphasise the importance of networking. And the very fact that you're all here today sort of shows that you do understand that, because you're creating the opportunity to meet other people. But the networking is so important. And I found my first job after establishing a relationship with a fantastic recruiter who originally, when I first met her in April 2016, I had no qualifications. You know, we met and you build that relationship and you get to see each other face to face, so people may be able to figure out that you're serious. But I had no qualifications. And sure enough, she said, when you get these qualifications, get back in touch. So a few months later, I gained some qualifications and I got back in touch. And I'm not going to embarrass her, she's in here today, but the lady did actually get me my first job in InfoSec. Now, if I hadn't gone to this original conference, then I may not be stood here today. I've talked about the OSCP, so I'm going to bring up certification just a little touch. I'm not going to try and ram certificates down anyone's throats, and I can appreciate that a lot of talented men and women in this industry don't have a certificate to their name. and they're lucky. But also I'm going to say this on certification. If it's the only thing between you getting employment or not, then I'd say it's a totally worthwhile investment. So going back to the plan cycle, we got where you are now. We knew where we want to be, and we've set our goals. However, you can have all the best intentions in the world, and you can educate yourself and have all the positive thinking. But if you fail to take action, then in 5 years' time you're going to be where you are exactly now. And so please, you need to take action, and it's as simple as that. But something amazing happens when you take action. As you take action, before you realise it, you start approaching where you actually want to be. And then where you want to be then becomes where you are now. And then again, you figure out the next where you want to be, set your goals, and it becomes a continuing cycle of personal development. I started this 2 years ago, and it's just been fantastic. So exciting that I've never stopped, and I don't think I ever will. So in summary, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a desire to join this industry, then make your move. Start to develop your own plan and establish your own goals and put them into action. For any of you who may have questions, I'm going to be around. I can appreciate I've just about hit 27 minutes and someone's on shortly. So for any of you who may have questions, I am going to be around just after this for a couple of hours. So please come and say hello and ask me, and we can have a chat. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Phill Kimpton. Thank you for your time.